Along the fog-shrouded coastline of Massachusetts, where Atlantic winds carry whispers of forgotten sins, stands a crumbling stone marker that few dare approach. Local fishermen cross themselves when passing it, and even the boldest historians refuse to speak openly about what it commemorates. The marker bears only a date, 1687, and two names that once struck terror into the hearts of every God-fearing colonist: Ezekiel and Judith Harrington. For nearly 2 decades, these siblings built an empire of blood and accusation, growing wealthy from the screams of the innocent and the seizure of their properties. Their story began in the Massachusetts Bay Colony of the 1660s, where small coastal communities like Wickham's Harbor survived on fishing, farming, and an uneasy relationship with the supernatural beliefs that governed every aspect of colonial life. The Puritan doctrine demanded constant vigilance against Satan's influence, and in such isolated communities, suspicion could spread faster than wildfire. Ezekiel Harrington, at 28, possessed sharp features and piercing grey eyes that would become synonymous with accusation and judgment. His younger sister Judith, 25, shared the same angular jaw and cold demeanor. Both had received an education unusual for their station, taught by their father, a failed merchant from Boston, to read, write, and understand the legal intricacies of property ownership and inheritance law. When their parents died of fever in 1663, leaving them with a modest farmhouse and mounting debts, they faced bleak prospects. Unlike their neighbors who turned to honest labor, the Harrington siblings recognized an opportunity in the growing hysteria surrounding witchcraft. Their first client was the village of Milford, where crop failures and stillborn livestock had created an atmosphere ripe for supernatural explanations. Ezekiel presented himself as a learned man who had studied the signs of witchcraft, while Judith posed as his assistant, skilled in detecting hidden marks upon the accused. Their method was brutally simple. Arrive in a troubled community, study local dynamics of wealth and power, then systematically accuse those whose properties would prove most profitable once confiscated. Their first victim was widow Constance Fletcher, whose late husband had left her a valuable grain mill that several local men coveted. Under the Harrington siblings' careful orchestration, Constance was accused of blighting the harvest through unholy communion with dark forces. They presented seemingly overwhelming evidence, mysterious marks upon her body, which they had secretly inflicted during a forced examination. Testimony from neighbors coached by Judith's suggestions, and the damning fact that her mill continued to produce flour when others failed, actually the result of her superior maintenance and location. Constance Fletcher was hanged on November 15, 1664, and her mill was divided between the town and the Harrington siblings as payment for their services. This was merely the beginning of an enterprise that would eventually span 8 different communities and claim the lives of 57 innocent people over 15 years. The decision for Ezekiel and Judith to marry came not from romantic inclination but cold practical calculation. By 1675, they controlled assets worth more than £15,000, an enormous fortune by colonial standards. They faced problems of inheritance and security. If either married outside the family, their spouse would gain legal rights to portion of their wealth and potential access to their carefully guarded secrets. Their solution demonstrated the same ruthless pragmatism that characterized their entire careers. Ezekiel would marry Judith in a private ceremony performed by a corrupt minister they had compromised during a witch trial in Salem Village. The secret wedding took place on December 21, 1675, during the winter solstice, witnessed only by the corrupt minister and 2 threatened servants. The pregnancy that began in early 1676 seemed to validate their confidence. They hired a skilled midwife from Boston, paying her an extraordinary fee to provide the best possible care. They ordered special foods, imported medicines, and commissioned matching cradles crafted from finest mahogany with silk bedding. But as Judith's pregnancy advanced into its final trimester, subtle signs emerged that something was terribly wrong. The midwife Sarah Whittam described fetal movements as unusual in their violence and coordination, like multiple entities engaged in combat. Ezekiel dismissed these concerns but privately worried. His research revealed that twin pregnancies often involved more violent movements, but also mentioned increased risks associated with close kinship between parents, including higher rates of stillbirth, physical abnormalities, and mental deficiencies. The birth began on March 15, 1677, and lasted nearly 2 days. The twins emerged severely malformed with limbs branching at impossible angles, skulls with additional bony protrusions, and bodies connected by tissue bridges. Despite their deformities, they demonstrated awareness and coordination far beyond their developmental stage. They moved with purpose, grasped objects, and seemed to communicate through sounds and gestures. Named Gabriel and Raphael, they survived their difficult birth and began to grow in ways that defied every expectation. By their first birthday, their intelligence far exceeded normal milestones even as physical limitations became more pronounced. The years between 1677 and 1685 marked both the height of the Harrington siblings' power and the beginning of their greatest challenge. The twins required constant supervision and specialized attention that made maintaining their public careers increasingly difficult. By their 8th birthday in March 1685, they had developed into something unprecedented, severely disabled children with intellectual capabilities rivaling educated adults. They had taught themselves to read by age 4, mastered basic mathematics by 5, and by 7 were engaging in philosophical discussions that would challenge university students. Most disturbing was their growing awareness of their parents' true nature and activities. Kept isolated within the manor officially to protect them from cruel stares but actually to prevent anyone from witnessing their condition, they had unprecedented access to their parents' private conversations, business records, and planning sessions. They developed an uncanny ability to remain silent and motionless when adults entered, leading Ezekiel and Judith to discuss sensitive matters freely, assuming the children were too young or disabled to understand. This assumption proved catastrophic. By 1685, the twins possessed detailed knowledge of their parents' witch-hunting operations, including manufactured evidence, bribed witnesses, and systematic murder for financial gain. They understood their physical condition was not divine judgment, but the direct consequence of their parents' decision to marry within their bloodline to protect their criminal empire. This understanding filled them with rage, grief, and determination. Despite physical limitations and complete dependence on their parents, they began planning ways to expose the truth and secure justice for their victims. Their first opportunity came in summer 1685 when Margaret Caldwell arrived seeking employment. She was the daughter of Thomas Caldwell, a blacksmith executed for witchcraft in 1679 after the siblings orchestrated his accusation to acquire his valuable forge. Margaret had no idea they were responsible for her father's death. The twins' strategy for communicating with Margaret was ingenious. Despite severe speech impediments and physical limitations, they developed ways of leaving written messages where she would find them during cleaning duties. These messages began with basic information about hidden documents and suspicious financial records, gradually expanding to detailed instructions about finding evidence of crimes. They learned to distinguish between their parents' visitors and developed ways of warning Margaret when dangerous individuals were scheduled to arrive. The turning point came in September 1685 when they provided information about a hidden compartment behind a false wall in Ezekiel's study containing detailed financial ledgers documenting 15 years of criminal activity. Margaret's discovery provided irrefutable proof but placed her in mortal danger. Her solution demonstrated both courage and strategic thinking. She began secretly copying the most damning documents while establishing contact with Father Benedict Thorne, a Jesuit priest recently arrived from Boston who possessed theological knowledge and political connections to investigate powerful colonial figures. Father Thorne's investigation began with skepticism but quickly evolved into horror as he uncovered layer after layer of systematic evil. Margaret's evidence copies of financial ledgers, witness lists with notations about payments and threats, and detailed maps marking locations of confiscated properties, painted a picture of criminal enterprise exceeding worst expectations. His expertise in theology and natural philosophy made him uniquely qualified to investigate both criminal and moral dimensions. His visit to the manor in October 1685 was presented as a routine pastoral call. Within minutes he detected atmospheric disturbances suggesting profound spiritual corruption, psychological residue from decades of calculated murder. His request to meet the children was ostensibly motivated by pastoral concern but truly to assess whether they could serve as witnesses. What he encountered exceeded even Margaret's descriptions. Despite severe physical limitations and obvious daily pain, Gabriel and Raphael demonstrated intellectual sophistication and emotional maturity remarkable for children of any age. They showed no fear but relief and hope, immediately attempting to communicate information about crimes witnessed and evidence hidden. Father Thorne's investigation, launched upon returning to Boston, was methodical and comprehensive. Within 3 weeks he assembled a complete dossier including financial records subpoenaed from colonial banks, testimonies from surviving relatives, and a detailed confession from Marcus Fletcher, a former accomplice who had helped plant evidence and coach witnesses. Fletcher's testimony revealed the true scope of their enterprise, including methods for selecting victims, creating false evidence, and coordinating with corrupt officials. More horrifically, it included information about the siblings' decision to marry and their discussions about using their children's condition for profit through private exhibitions to wealthy individuals curious about medical anomalies. But Father Thorne's most powerful weapon proved to be the children themselves. Gabriel and Raphael possessed detailed memories providing crucial corroboration. Their interviews revealed systematic abuse and exploitation, years of painful medical procedures without anesthesia, forced intellectual tasks under threat of withdrawn food or comfort, and being used as subjects for theories about physical deformity and mental capacity. Most horrifying, their parents had been documenting their development to sell reports to European physicians interested in consanguinity effects. The final months of 1685 brought escalating tension. Father Thorne possessed irrefutable evidence but faced the challenge of exposing powerful individuals without triggering violent response. Meanwhile, the twins grew increasingly bold, using their position to observe and document activities even Margaret could not safely witness. They developed methods for recording information despite physical limitations, creating hidden caches of written evidence. Their growing defiance did not go unnoticed. Ezekiel and Judith's response revealed complete absence of parental affection. They viewed their children's developing autonomy as a threat. The crisis began in early December, when Ezekiel discovered evidence of unauthorized access to his hidden financial records. His immediate suspicion fell upon Margaret, but interrogation revealed she could not have been responsible for all breaches. The truth that their own children had been gathering evidence was so outside their psychological framework, they initially dismissed it. While Ezekiel and Judith focused on external threats, the twins continued intelligence gathering with increasing sophistication. They developed communication methods allowing coordination despite physical separation. By mid-December, they had compiled evidence including documentation of past crimes and intelligence about future operations. Plans to expand into Connecticut River Valley, where Indian raids could be exploited for profit through accusations of supernatural collaboration, and immediate plans for their elimination as witnesses. They overheard discussions about tragic accidents during winter and observed preparations for their disposal. Their response demonstrated remarkable intelligence and understanding of their parents' psychology. They accelerated evidence gathering while laying groundwork for final confrontation that would force their parents to reveal true nature before witnesses with authority and credibility. They were willing to sacrifice themselves if their deaths could guarantee exposure of crimes. The opportunity came on December 21, 1685, the 10th anniversary of their parents' secret wedding. This annual ritual, which involved reviewing accumulated wealth, reading victim lists and planning future operations, provided the perfect setting. The twins' plan required precise timing, complete commitment, and courage remarkable for children who had never known life outside their prison home. They had arranged for Father Thorn to arrive during evening hours when their parents conducted their celebration. The atmosphere was thick with malevolence as Ezekiel and Judith prepared, reviewing financial records and planning relocation to Carolina colonies. Gabriel and Raphael, confined to their chambers, had spent weeks preparing with methodical precision. They had created hidden caches of evidence throughout the manor and spent months weakening structural elements using tools fashioned from household items and techniques learned from architectural texts. Father Thorn's arrival was preceded by careful reconnaissance, mapping building layout, identifying escape routes, and establishing communication through light signals. His military background proved invaluable. Authorities accompanying him included colonial officials with arrest warrants, physicians prepared to examine the children, legal clerks ready to catalogue evidence, and a skilled engineer for extraction. When Father Thorn knocked at precisely 7 p.m., Ezekiel and Judith were in mid-ritual. Their initial response was annoyed confidence, but they soon sensed something different. His manner too assured, questions too specific, knowledge of household arrangements too detailed. The moment of truth came when he requested permission to visit the children. Their instinct was to refuse, but they realized refusal might seem suspicious. Granting access proved their fatal mistake. When the priest entered the twins' room followed by monitoring parents, he implemented the signal system arranged with the children. Their response was immediate and devastating. Despite their parents' presence, they began reciting detailed accounts of specific crimes with dates, victim names, and evidence locations. Their voices, though distorted, carried authority and precision, making testimony undeniably credible. Gabriel began on the night of September 14, 1679. Our father and mother met with Marcus Fletcher to plan accusation of Thomas Caldwell. Mother provided Fletcher with silver coins from Rebecca Whitmore's confiscated jewelry. Father gave instructions for hiding the puppet discovered during Caldwell's barn search. Raphael continued. The puppet contained hair taken from Caldwell's youngest daughter during forced medical examination. Fletcher placed it beneath the anvil where witnesses were told to look. The psychological impact was devastating. For the first time they faced betrayal by victims assumed helpless and ignorant. But the twins were far from finished. They described hidden caches of stolen property, bribery networks, and revealed additional concealed murders. In the chest beneath Study's eastern corner, Raphael continued. Are 37 pieces of jewelry from executed women, including wedding ring of Mary Hutchkins, hanged for witchcraft in 1681 after father accused her of cursing livestock. Gabriel added, Mary was innocent. Father killed her cow with poison from Boston, claimed death proved supernatural interference. Her property, 12 acres of prime farmland and blacksmith tools, was divided between town treasury and our parents. The detailed accuracy combined with obvious intelligence and physical evidence of their condition created an overwhelming case. Father Thorn had brought legal authority, credible witnesses, and documentation methods. Ezekiel and Judith's response revealed absence of human emotion. Rather than shock, remorse, or fear for children's welfare, they immediately calculated how to eliminate witnesses and escape. Their attempt to discredit testimony by claiming delusions from physical condition collapsed when Father Thorn produced corroborating documents and witness testimonies. Realizing denial impossible, they implemented emergency plan, hidden weapons, escape routes, and contingency funds to eliminate all witnesses and flee beyond colonial authority. The violence was swift and brutal but unfolded as anticipated. When Ezekiel drew a concealed pistol to shoot Father Thorn, it exploded in his hand from metal fragments Gabriel had inserted over weeks. Judith's attempt with hidden knife triggered floor traps Raphael had prepared by loosening floorboards. Her fall activated mechanical devices barricading doors and windows. The final confrontation occurred in the main hall where structural modifications achieved intended purpose. Coordinated collapse of central support trapped parents beneath beams while creating protective alcove for children, priest, and officials. The collapse exposed hidden rooms with additional evidence, preserved documents, stolen property, and remains of unrecorded victims. Rescue workers found Ezekiel and Judith dead beneath rubble, faces showing shock and disbelief. Gabriel and Raphael, though injured and exhausted, were alive and eager to continue testimony. Their survival and intelligence made them compelling witnesses crucial to legal proceedings. Their courage demonstrated physical limitations need not constrain moral agency or pursuit of justice. The aftermath sent shockwaves throughout colonial Massachusetts, influencing legal procedures, religious practices, and community vigilance for generations. Evidence recovered combined with twins' testimony provided irrefutable proof of systematic judicial murder, forcing authorities to confront possibility other witch trials were similarly corrupted. Immediate legal consequences were unprecedented: posthumous convictions on 57 murder counts plus fraud, bribery, judicial corruption, and conspiracy charges. The case became the most comprehensive criminal prosecution in colonial American history. The systematic nature of crimes combined with connections to corrupt officials triggered comprehensive review of witch trial procedures, revealing disturbing patterns of abuse and manipulation across New England. Father Thorne's investigation uncovered evidence similar schemes operated in other colonies, showing abuse of supernatural accusations for financial gain was widespread. This contributed to growing skepticism about witch trials and accelerated legal reforms, ending period of supernatural persecution. The financial empire was dismantled over 3 years, requiring special procedures to unwind decades of fraudulent property acquisitions. Properties worth over £25,000 were identified as criminally obtained. Courts faced unprecedented challenge restoring stolen assets to families of victims murdered decades earlier. Detailed records showed meticulous documentation, including maps of confiscated properties, lists of bribed officials, and financial projections for future criminal enterprises. Gabriel and Raphael proved remarkably resilient. Under supervision of Dr. William Harvey from London, they not only survived but thrived in ways challenging contemporary understanding of human development. Examination revealed their physical condition, while severe, was not as limiting as claimed. Much helplessness had been artificially imposed through neglect and psychological manipulation. With proper care, nutrition, and therapy, they showed remarkable improvement in mobility and health. Their intellectual capabilities flourished with proper education and social interaction. Within months they were reading at levels exceeding most adults, demonstrating mathematical abilities impressing university scholars, and showing artistic talents drawing intellectual attention. Dr. Harvey's documentation became foundational in medical psychology, showing intellectual capacity not determined by physical appearance, and that proper care could unlock extraordinary potential. Their testimony remained crucial in legal proceedings. Detailed memories provided corroboration for documentary evidence and helped prosecute dozens of surviving accomplices. Their obvious intelligence and moral clarity made them compelling witnesses. Psychological evaluation revealed no signs of mental damage from trauma. They demonstrated remarkable emotional stability and moral development, suggesting innate resilience. This proved crucial as they adapted to life outside their prison. Their physical condition made them objects of curiosity and fear, but intelligence and dignity won respect from those who knew them as individuals. Their transformation argued for inclusion and education of individuals with physical differences. Their success showed human potential cannot be judged by appearance, and society benefits when all individuals are given opportunities to contribute. Their adult lives proved as remarkable as their childhood ordeal was traumatic. Gabriel became a respected legal scholar whose writings on evidence, witness protection, and judicial corruption influenced colonial jurisprudence for decades. Despite physical limitations, he became a sought-after consultant for complex criminal cases and helped establish first formal procedures for protecting child witnesses. His innovations were informed by childhood experiences and understanding how vulnerable individuals could be exploited by authority. His work led to special courts for cases involving child witnesses, enhanced protections for individuals with disabilities in legal proceedings, and improved methods for gathering testimony from vulnerable populations. Raphael became a physician specializing in care of children with physical abnormalities and abuse victims. His practice was revolutionary in treating patients as complete human beings rather than symptom collections, emphasizing dignity, education, and social integration over isolation and shame. Raphael Harrington established the first school in colonial America specifically for children with disabilities, demonstrating physical limitations need not constrain intellectual achievement, and that proper support could enable meaningful societal contribution. The school's success challenged prevailing attitudes throughout colonies, inspiring similar institutions and contributing to broader social changes in treating vulnerable members. His educational philosophy emphasized potential within every individual and society's responsibility to provide opportunities for its realization. Both twins married and established families. Their children showed no trace of grandparents' moral corruption or parents' physical challenges. Genetic abnormalities proved non-hereditary, breaking the cycle of suffering. Their success in creating loving, stable families was significant given traumatic childhood, demonstrating severe early trauma need not determine life's course with proper support. The Harrington case had profound implications for understanding family dynamics, child development, and long-term abuse effects. Their recovery and achievements became powerful evidence that resilience and healing were possible even in extreme circumstances with appropriate care. Father Thorne's investigation had lasting effects on religious and legal institutions. His methodology for gathering evidence, protecting witnesses, and building cases against powerful criminals became a model for future investigations, establishing protocols influencing law enforcement for generations. His documentation became required reading for legal scholars and religious authorities, demonstrating how systematic evil could flourish with failed oversight. His work contributed to reforms in civil and religious governance, strengthening protections against authority abuse. The manor site was designated a memorial ground, ruins left undisturbed as reminder of how justice can be corrupted when fear and superstition override critical thinking and moral courage. The memorial, maintained by funds from sold Harrington properties, serves as an educational site about dangers of unchecked authority and importance of protecting vulnerable community members. The simple stone marker bears not only the date of the siblings' deaths but an inscription commissioned by Gabriel and Raphael. Here lies the evidence that evil is not supernatural. It is a human choice that can be made by ordinary people who value comfort over conscience. Let all who pass remember that justice depends on the courage of those who refuse to remain silent when confronted with wrongdoing. Most significantly, the case demonstrated that children, regardless of physical condition or social status, possess inherent dignity and moral agency that must be respected and protected. Their courage in exposing parents' crimes despite complete dependence challenged contemporary assumptions about childhood disability and moral responsibility. Their story became a powerful argument for children's rights and protections, influencing legal and social developments throughout American history. Recognition that children could be both abuse victims and agents of their own liberation contributed to evolving concepts of childhood emphasizing protection, education, and respect for individual dignity. Their legacy extended beyond immediate historical context to influence broader discussions about disability rights, victim advocacy, and prevention of systematic abuse. Their demonstration that physical limitations need not constrain intellectual or moral development challenged centuries-old prejudices and contributed to more inclusive concepts of human potential and social responsibility. The Harrington case continues to resonate in contemporary discussions about child protection, disability rights, and institutional abuse prevention. Their story shows individuals have capacity for remarkable resilience and moral insight when given tools and support to overcome adversity regardless of physical condition or traumatic experiences. Their triumph over impossible circumstances serves as enduring evidence that human dignity cannot be destroyed by abuse or neglect, and that society has both opportunity and obligation to support all individuals in realizing their potential for contribution and achievement.